you have to have good people. And that's one thing that anybody who has ever been at Benefitfocus will say they had amazing people, which to your credit obviously came from the culture, which was a huge priority for you. How did you recognize that culture was such an important thing, and why did you spend so much time on it? You know, you had core values that were very important, and you were very specific about only having a certain number, just everything about it. You know, it's an experience to be a Benefitfocus from the moment that you step in the door to the moment that you leave the company in one way or another.
Yeah, my thesis was pretty simple on culture. I thought, even as a kid, I thought, well, if I ever able to get to start a business or be part of a company in the early stages and be part of that growth, that I would want to create an environment, whether I was the owner of the company or just a manager of a group of people. I'd want to create an environment that I personally, when I woke up in the morning, would want to go work at. And so that was very clear to me, that things that really bothered me in my career or different work environments, I wanted to avoid those. And then things that really amazed me at experiences that I had with companies or just in other areas, I wanted to put those in. And I wanted to talk about them. I was a student of business. I read lots of books, and I realized that companies that lasted and endured a long time had a set of core values. They generally had a small set, between 3 and 6. I got that number from a book, the book Good to Great. Well, the book prior to that was Built to Last, where he studied companies that lasted more than 50 years. And that was more my type of book, because it was about founders and so forth. And in there was a chapter on values, and it said, all built to last companies have at least 3, but no more than 6 values. And I thought, okay. When we read that, we had started the company and I had 2 values. So I was like, we need a 3rd value. And that's when I went out and listened for it. But things like a super shy, I still have a very hard time going into a room or a setting where I don't know the people. As a kid, I couldn't go to school the first day or even sometimes the first week. Mom would have to take me. I'd cry and kick and scream and just incredible anxiety around new people, new places. And even still, I mean, I have ways to cope with it, but if people come to my house, I get nervous, even in my own environment. And I remember first day of work, first day on the job at certain companies where I'd work, I was just terrified. And I would have very simple questions like, when do you go to lunch? And do you bring your lunch? And I had these things. So at Benefitfocus, when we started the company, I worked with Kathleen, our HR person, right out of the gate. And I said, we're going to write a letter to everybody that we hire. We're going to send it a week in advance. And we're going to tell them about the first day. We're going to take them to lunch, and it's going to be their manager. And all these things that I personally worried about, I tried to instill in our company so that I would imagine that some percentage of people had the same fears that I had. And so that was just stuff like that. And another thing that was super clear to me and super obvious was I wanted to be part of the hiring process of the first 200 people. I don't know where 200 came from, but I thought if we're successful, we grow, we'll hire lots of people. And I don't want to be the main person to decide whether we hire them. I want some time with the first 200 people. And I want to say what I'm saying to you today. These values are important to us, like anticipatory service. We value taking out the trash and keeping the place clean and serving other people rather than being served. We value respect for the individual. And I used to beg people in those early interviews, but don't come here, because we worked a lot. It was a startup. It was the heyday of tech growth. And I knew that we worked a lot of hours, and I would tell people that, if you need a 9-to-5 job, Monday to Friday, at least at that time, don't come here, because you might love the people, you might love the work, but eventually you'll have some trouble with it. And so this idea of just being really authentic and transparent with people and telling them what we were about, where we were going, what was important to us, allowed us to, 8 out of 10 people we hired really were spot on, which was a super high ratio in that first 200 people. And then, even through the whole growth, we got to 2,500 people at the company when I left. And I had been interviewed, a ton of them. And that was just important to me.
You definitely had that legacy at that company, that people knew that you cared and wanted it to be a good place to work and wanted it to be a place that they valued. Okay was never good enough. And I like that, because I don't want to be part of something that's okay. I want to be Stephanie, who's, oh yeah, she always does amazing work. Oh wow, we can count on Stephanie. And I felt like that culture that we had at Benefitfocus really just bred that environment. And I remember, like stupid things would annoy me, because I'd be like, I'd walk by, if somebody walked by something on the ground and I'd be like, what the hell is this? Why did you not pick that up? How could you, what are you doing? The bar was so high that even teeny things like that at any other place you might look at, like never think about. At Benefitfocus, that wasn't acceptable. It was, no, we do things the right way all the time. It's the right way all the time, because it's the right thing to do, because that's who we are, because we excel. And I had the fortune of being able to manage the culture team, which was really cool. So I got to work with so many people and talk with them about what they loved. And it was the people. It was the fact that if you go anywhere in town and you said you worked at Benefitfocus, they were like, oh, wow. It had that gold standard. It really did endure after going public, which was pretty cool too.
It kind of goes back to that thought of, if I was able to be part of a young company, I'd want to put into the company, at least my part of it, things that would attract me to a company, that would make me want to come work there and keep coming back. And as much as my hypothesis was that people will want to be around other people who want to serve or work hard or whatever, another part of the thesis, I guess, was that there's got to be enough people that want to be on a winning team, that want to do excellent things. And so that was part of the culture. We only had 2 and then ultimately 4 core values. So it wasn't like we had a list of things. I've seen some companies have like 20 things on the wall, or I had a guy show me his business card one time and it unfolded their core values and it's like 28 things. And like, that's legalism. That is some authoritarian regime telling you what you can and can't do. And somehow we were able to take really 4 values, the idea of service or respect individuals together, was one of the main ones, where we all work in this together and celebrate. Like we get excited for others. And we attracted enough people that wanted to be on those teams, that did excellent work, that valued the extra time in prepping for meetings. And we set high bars across the way. And there were so many more people than me at the company that influenced that. It was just cool to sit back and watch it like snowball. Like I was part of the group that got it started. But sure, you'd walk around the campus, or you'd be out at a meeting in, some other place in the country, and the room would be set up perfectly, and all the little things that we would expect to be in a candy jar, and pens with the Benefitfocus logo looking up at you, a printed agenda because we respected your time, a notepad because we thought you might learn something you might want to write down. All these little things that I didn't actually tell people to do. I mean, at some point I was a part of a group that made these things, and they would just continue to improve, and they just like this reinforcing improvement system. Customers love that, because they know that if we did screw something up, that we would apologize, we'd own up to it, and we just make it better the next time. But generally it'd be better, be good the first time. So I do talk to young entrepreneurs a lot now, and one of the areas that I talk about is culture, and I just encourage them to put what's valuable to them, talk about it a lot, put it in writing, reinforce it, and celebrate it. And you'll be amazed at how that will multiply into a great group of people.
I have one more question about Benefitfocus, and then we will switch gears. So I could not stop, finish a conversation about your time at Benefitfocus without highlighting the celebrate and your impulsive nature in celebration. My personal favorite story was one day, you get to work at like 8 or 8:30, walk into a room, like immediately all of our teams, the certain planning teams are called into this meeting, like emergency meeting. I think I got a call at home actually. And it was like, okay, everybody, you've got to be here by 8:30, and then we're doing the celebration at 10 o'clock. So we need like 30 bottles of champagne. We need this many containers. We need 6 bullhorns. We need fireworks. We need a canoe. Those are the actual things. And I can't even remember, there were more. And I remember sitting there like, did they just say we needed a canoe and bullhorn? What the hell is happening today? Like there were so many. That's just one of many times. And in that specific situation, I don't remember, I think it was we signed a client or signed some deal, and you were swimming across the pond with alligators, known alligators in this pond. It was just like a celebration. It was literally for no other purpose than like everybody stopped what they were doing, had to come out, and we did this with the fireworks, the bullhorns, the champagne, the swim across, and then, your patio parties. And what in the world led to some of those I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. Feats.
I can remember in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, my favorite day of the year was field day. Remember field day? I was sort of at the end of the year, and you woke up that morning like, all right, I don't got any class. Someone's going to yell at me. I'm going to go out and have fun outside, play kickball, do fun stuff. And for whatever reason, as we get older, we tend to like tamp down that joyous child in us and take on a more stern, serious face. And so when things would go well for our company, I mean, I was the first to say, let's get the hell out of this office and go somewhere. We go to the movies, we go to the movies, we take everybody to the movies, close the place down. We went to a park one time and got a bunch of kegs of beer and had a band come out there and play music just on the spontaneous, because it was nice outside and we had a few hours. In the case you're referencing, I had challenged our sales team with some pretty aggressive goals, particularly around some very large Northeast Boston area insurance companies. And I had made this commitment like many months before, and I thought they were, if they did it, it would happen in the winter. And this pond does have an alligator in it. And I thought, well, it'll be the winter and I'll swim across there and we won't see the alligator. I said, I'll swim across this pond and we'll celebrate if you sign this deal. Well, they ended up getting the signature, and it was like May and it was hot and like, oh my gosh. So I got 2 guys with a canoe and one other boat, and they, we all got out there with our champagne and this quick, thing. And I swam across it and everybody was cheering and stuff. Part of that was to make sure I never got too like old manish and serious and like all calcified and crusty and mean. So when I would have sort of inspirations, I would go with them, because I thought this is not the day to become some old crusty, crabby guy. This is the day to be fun and do like field day back in grade school. The other part was, and we had one of our core values was celebrate. And if you don't, you want to demonstrate and spend time doing what values you want everyone else to do. And so I looked for opportunities and encouraged our leaders and really everybody to when something went well, to get out and celebrate, do something to enjoy life and celebrate together. So that was a fun day. It'd be like someone's first day and they're out there with some fireworks and the guys swimming across the lake. I'm like, what the hell is going on? They go home and tell their family it's fun. Like, I work at this great company. We're either going out of business tomorrow or this thing's going to be awesome. It's like, there's no in between.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think everybody has a story like that, which is amazing. So then you go from Benefitfocus, all of the hard work, founding it, building it, taking it public, which was tremendously successful in itself, to farming. So what led you to want to start farming? You always used, and this struck me, and I've always meant to ask you about this, you always said at Benefitfocus to develop your field, and use that as an example of the grass isn't always greener. It's how you tend to your own field that you can grow it. And so obviously when I heard that you bought the farm, I thought of develop your field. did that just have something that just manifested that way?
I didn't really put that together until after we owned the farm, and I started recalling all this content that we had. We used it a lot in sales about, develop your territory, and you got to do these things way in advance for the harvest to come later. And we put math behind that, and we used to develop your field multiple times in different settings, different annual events and whatnot. And then eventually we created a curriculum on develop your field, particularly for salespeople in a multi-year and a kind of a 10-year way to develop their area, whether it's Pittsburgh or Seattle or wherever. No, when I took a break and stopped working at the company that I co-founded and promoted the team, I wanted to see them, grow. And that was always one of my goals, was to promote a team and watch the company grow from outside the company. And we had this downtime. I was talking to my wife and I said, well, what do you want to do? Like, we can do whatever we want. Now we got all this time and we have our kids. She said, I'd like to own a farm. And I thought, okay, what kind of farm? We want to grow vegetables. And we had been learning more about nutrition and how, our diet affected our health and so forth. And so I just drove around Charleston and the surrounding area, looked for farms. There weren't many. Real estate's pretty pricey around here, but I found an old dormant strawberry farm in McClellanville, about 35 miles from here. And I purchased the farm from the children who the parents had passed away. And we've been working to bring this farm back. And yeah, I guess there's something about being in the digital world and in software, and it's high tech, that there's probably some part of me that was yearning for analog, no computers, no software, dirt, sweat, bugs, tractors. I bought a John Deere tractor, and we're a couple years at it now. We do what we call regenerative farming. I threw myself into studying this and traveled and met people and watched a million YouTube videos. And so we're really soil farmers. We have cattle, chickens out on the field. They put down their manure that creates fertilizer for the soil. The soil gets richer, the grass grows better. The cows are completely grass-fed. The chickens are out. They eat organic, soy-free meal, so that we have these really colorful organic soy-free eggs. Chickens for meat. We have a wonderful garden, strawberries, of course, and a whole host of things seasonally. It's really been a lot of fun. So there's 2 houses. We renovated them, barn, and we're about to put it out for some occasional use for weddings and things like that, which we get asked for a lot. So it's been a really neat journey. It's not like a big business venture; it's more of a lifestyle. But we do have an working farm on there, and there's a young family that lives there full time and farms it, and they sell their products and stuff. So it's been neat and completely refreshing, and a whole other side of my brain that I've been able to use.
And then your son is also involved in farming now, right?
Yeah, Alex, my oldest son, he works part-time on the farm, and then we have a couple other projects. We have some commercial real estate that he and I have been working on since I left Benefitfocus. Just thinking about the next 10, 20, 30 years of my life. I don't want to try and recreate what I had. I don't want to kind of go back and do the same thing, but I want to be productive. And I have 5 children. I want to teach them the value of hard work. I want to set an example. I want to do things for our community financially and support organizations that, are in constant need and will be in a greater need in the future. And so I just, taking this reset where I was so focused on building my business and career, and that's where all the, the economic engine for our family was, watching it continue to grow, but looking at ways that we can, I guess in a sense, diversify to some extent, but more so create value through work on multiple projects that will benefit our community in the future.
And you've certainly done that. You have your own ecosystem, from building Benefitfocus and creating all of those jobs, to then obviously you made a tremendous multi-million-dollar donation to the hospital, and now it is the MUSC Shawn Jenkins Children's Hospital, or the Shawn Jenkins MUSC Children's Hospital. And that's just amazing. Like to walk by that hospital now that it's built and see that and know that there are, you know, floors and floors of children who are being impacted positively by what you and your family have been able to donate is amazing. And allowing all of those people, some of the most talented people in the entire world working at that hospital, to do what they do best. You know, so you have that, you took care of the jobs and the benefits, and then helping with the healthcare, and now you're trying with the food, you know, to make sure that everybody has sustainable, great things that are good for the environment and their bodies. And then, you know, back to where you are now, starting another tech company. It's just, you have the whole picture. Community is definitely a theme of your life, taking care of everybody from start to finish. Did you ever think that that's where your life would be when you were, you know, 10 years old, 11 years old? Did you ever think that you'd end up being a tech founder, a farmer, have your name on a hospital, raising 5 kids? What did you think?
Yeah, I certainly didn't foresee software technology. Like I didn't grow up really knowing much about that. And I was a surf kid and had an earring, and I worked on fishing boats and things. And I did learn how to work pretty hard as a kid. And my mom worked hard as a realtor to provide for our family. And so as I mentioned earlier, I always wanted to own a business. I think because I wanted the freedom of what I perceived to be the freedom. Owning a business is not the freest thing, by the way. It can provide freedom at times, but it also can exact somewhat of a toll on you. So I didn't even know about Charleston, South Carolina, where I live and have had my family's grown. So those things were not clear to me, but the idea of definitely community and giving back. We were on the receiving end of a lot of gracious families and people, some through churches, some through our extended family, some just through the community there in Port Orange, Florida, Daytona Beach area. I saw those things. I recognized very early on how important it is in our context through in a single mom household, but you know, I had friends, kind of the friends that I hung out with, a lot of them had single mom households. And I knew that, you know, the value of like $100 or a bag of groceries, or I'll take care of your electric bill, or your taxes are due, I'll take care of part of that for you. Like literally the simplest, smallest, most timely interjection of help was just completely outsized in somebody's life. And so when I got out of college, I actually worked at a nonprofit for 5 years because I wanted to understand a little bit more how giving back worked. And I traveled around the world, and we did some really neat things with medical mission teams and stuff. So I guess I had the seeds of understanding, at least, or impact on my life of what it means to give back. Now, you know, the Children's Hospital opportunity was completely a surprise to me. As I mentioned earlier, my daughter, Olivia, when she was a baby, had some medical issues, and she was treated at the MUSC Children's Hospital, which was built in the 80s, great hospital, great reputation. And they helped her tremendously. And that always stuck with me. You know, when she was treated, I was making about $18,000 a year, and I was the only income in our house. And I was just completely terrified of how we were going to pay for that, but it all worked out. And so when the new president of MUSC came out to Benefitfocus and sat down with me to introduce himself after he got his job, the first thing he said was, "Look, we got to build a new children's hospital, and we'd like your participation." And I just felt like this butterfly thing. I mean, I'll describe it the way it felt. It felt like a butterfly thing of love well up in me, as strange as that might sound. And we took a tour and learned more about the hospital, met Jersey, who I know you know runs the NICU there, and saw the NICU where all the babies were lined up and the parents barely had room to even sit down next to them. And they just explained children's medicine to us. They showed us a rendering of the new building. We took some time as a family, my wife and I and our children, talked to my mom some, talked to our pastor some, we prayed about it, and we were thankfully and gratefully in a position, because our company had done so well, to make this, you know, contribution that, got it from an idea through to, the amount of money they needed, and it's continued to raise a tremendous amount of money. And it's just life-altering experience. Never saw that coming. But just think about, from my daughter when I was young, to the seeds of the business were even in the idea of removing paper, through the whole thing. And now being here, Olivia is a nurse and she works in the children's hospital. So I just was down there last week with my COVID mask on and everything, looking at some fish tanks we put in there. And she's working, and I couldn't be more proud of her. It's just, Stephanie, it's just the most amazing, blessed feeling to have worked with the people I've worked with and had the success in business. But then to be able to put it back into our community. I had a mom, I get a lot of emails and notes, and people I haven't met and probably won't meet, grandparents and stuff, thank us and for their kid being treated years ago. Like we weren't even there. We weren't even part of it. Like we don't deserve any credit whatsoever for any of the great work they do, but we're associated with these physicians and nurses and the love. But I had a mom send me a note, and she said, "Thanks for building us a hospital, not buying a private island." Mm-hmm. And I never even thought of myself as even having the capacity to buy a private island. I was just working. All the money was like electronic. I didn't even notice it in some sense. I wanted just the company to survive. And when I read that, I thought, it never even crossed my mind to buy a private island or to build a children's hospital. I think what's great about being around a lot of special people that you and I have been able to work with and be part of is you don't get so consumed with, things that aren't that important. And then when something important comes along, you're surrounded by people that identify important things. And it's just easy, whether it's your family, your friends, or the community, your faith community, or the people you work with. So it's just terrific. And thanks for letting me go on and on about it here today on your show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. And community is certainly your legacy. I'd say innovation and community is definitely two things that are fully intertwined throughout your life. So thank you so much for being on here. I will have to do this again because I have a million more questions to ask you.
Well, thanks. You're doing great work. And I'm sure a lot of people are just soaking up your content. So thanks for including me. All the best.
Thank you, Shawn. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.